Another week, another breach report, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, there's a lot that's gone on this week and it doesn't look like it's gonna be calming down. Last week I didn't upload a video because I'll be honest with you, nothing really happened. But this week has been been a mouthful because there's a lot to be served on this week's plate. Android threats skyrocketing to the moon because guess what? Android can be hacked, all the way to fricking the FBI saying that airlines are gonna be hacked or will most likely be hacked because of a cyber group, all the way to, no joke, Facebook wanting your pictures, your sensitive photos. They want that. There's a lot to cover, so without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Alright people, starting off strong like usual, Android, everyone's favorite mobile device. If you have an Android, you're living different nowadays. You're a relic of the old past.
You honestly think you're fucking funny?
I don't think that even made any sense. But, if you're an avid Apple user, this is still one you want to watch out for because if they get attacked, you get attacked as well. So don't think you're in the clear here. It's been reported by Malwarebytes that Android threats have risen sharply, with mobile malware jumping by 151% since the start of the year. Now, what's that telling me? That's telling me that it's more vulnerable than usual. That's really insightful. By malware jumping 151% doesn't actually surprise me because there's so many different ways and so many different angles that people can exploit this to their gain. For example, why don't we take the good old spyware? Because guess what? That's better than the good old malware. Gone up by 147%. And a broad category of apps that collect users' data without consent. Loads of apps nowadays are just taking your data and selling it on. Because if the app's not being made profitable through normal monetization methods, what's the best next method? Stealing your data and selling it to a company. While this is sad and gloomy and your data is being sold to advertisements, it's even more shocking that there's been nearly a 700% spike in SMS-based malware between April and May. Receiving a message alone is really concerning. Like, I'll get a lot of spam calls and a lot of spam messages, and I'll always just respond to it, or I'll pick up the phone. Not because I'm not aware that it's probably a scam, it's because I want to engage with them. No, but on a serious note, if you're not locked in like me and you receive these SMS messages, then you probably fall for it. Especially older people who are just chilling, watching the good old news, and they get that message saying, we need your bank account if you want to access your money. So they go ahead and give them the bank account and they lose the money. Scenarios like that is probably where most people get hit. But the fact is that nearly 700% increase in between April and May is insane. Now, in this report, it did say it could be related to seasonal things. So like coming up to each financial year, filing your taxes and more scams and stuff, which is understandable. If I was a hacker or if I was someone who wanted to use a bit of social engineering, I would probably work around those seasons as well. Hibernate for the rest of them, but come out when you have to file the taxes, try and scam these people. That's probably when to do it the best. That's not a tutorial, by the way. I have no idea how to do this. Just how do you actually protect your Android device? Well, the clear indication is download it from the Google Store or download it from the App Store, or wherever the designated official app place is. Wherever device. You should be doing that anyway. You shouldn't be going on Google and typing, I want to download TikTok and download, I don't know, Flip-Flop. I don't know. But you get what I'm trying to say. You don't want to, go out and download the Temu version of the app you're trying to download, because that doesn't help anyone. But at the same time, you have to be careful about the permissions you allow the app. Your phone should, send you notifications saying, do you want to give permission? Do you want this to have access, I don't know, to your freaking calendar? Or don't allow notifications. And, the major one is probably use up-to-date software or use up-to-date apps. Why people don't do this is beyond me, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, moving on to the next story. The FBI. So the FBI came out the other day and, you know, made their usual announcements, but wanted to also add that a new cyber group, or I'm not sure if they're new, they've probably been around for ages, called Scattered Spider, are now targeting the airlines. You know, the things that fly in the sky called planes, targeting those. I don't think you really want to be targeting those. So the FBI have warned about the group Scattered Spider. Now, this group, I want to say, were linked to the retail hacks over in the UK. Whether that was Co-op, M&S, those types of retail hacks. I think they were linked to actually this group. Mostly English-speaking hackers and teenagers to young adults, by the way, not like old men sitting in the room, in a dark room, just hacking away. Mostly those young people, because they're more likely to be financially motivated, are targeting airlines. Gotta give props to these guys because they're really good at deception. Their tactics and, you know, often relying on like everything social engineering, phishing, and sometimes threats of violence. Yeah, I don't know what to say to the threats of violence, but the social engineering and phishing part is basically abusing humans and their psychology to extort them out to allow entry to get in. They're going for the big target corporations, and how they get in is through their third IT providers. And what I'm seeing with this group is they're going from all different angles. Like it says, it's going through social engineering, phishing, but going through third-party IT providers. So a lot of these aviation companies might be linked to, you know, one company here, another company there, and abusing that link between those two companies, that relationship, to actually get into the main company or the, you know, the main corporation they're trying to get into. Now, the FBI are warning an issue that this may be happening to other aviation companies because two were already attempted to get hit. I read another article just now saying that a Hawaiian aviation company was actually hacked. And, you know, I'm not gonna be Professor Einstein out here, but I'm gonna try and make the link between these two articles. If you have a look here, a Hawaiian airline hacked as aviation sector warned of scattered spider attacks. So, a few days later, after the FBI had basically warned everyone, a Hawaiian airline has been hacked. And, you know, it's not confirmed if it is scattered spider, but with all that warning and the FBI saying, no, guys, you gotta be careful of these other dudes who are trying to hack you, and this company gets hacked, it probably is them. So, yeah, this isn't gonna look good for anyone, and it's gonna cost millions of dollars in damages. You gotta realize as well that once these companies get hacked, they gotta stop. They can't allow flights to go on. They can't, you know, continue like usual. You gotta realize if flights get cancelled, it's not only stops the airport that they're in, but all the other airports, all the other flights that they have. It makes a big difference. Okay, our last story is a little bit weird, I'm not gonna lie. Now, it's everyone's favorite company, Facebook, and they're coming in clutch. A new feature which I don't think anyone really likes. Facebook wants to look at your entire camera roll for AI restyling. So what does this mean? Well, to put it in plain, simple, basic, you know, 5-year-old terms, Facebook want access to your camera roll so they can prove their AI. Pictures of you. Pictures of your family. Now, it doesn't take 2 buckets to realize how, you know, how stupid that is. You know, it's, by the way, this isn't like, you know, permanent. You don't have to actually give it, you know, you can opt in for it, but the fact is that they're wanting that data, that privacy to be taken away from you so they can improve their AI models is insane. Someone's camera roll is very sensitive. You might have family photos on there, you might have pictures of yourself, and to give that to Facebook and be like, you know, here you go, make AI out of it, is really weird. And whoever opts in for this is genuinely, I you know, they gotta be on the watch list. I'm not gonna lie. Now, last week I covered that Meta are actually rolling ads using your privacy to basically make personalized ads on WhatsApp. You know, a lose-lose situation. And them going out and doing this doesn't add, you know, sugar to the wound. It adds freaking salt to the wound. And to give you an idea of what this looks like, you know, here, you know, allowed cloud processing to get creative ideas made for you from your camera roll. And what's even weird about this is that this is actually illegal to do. If you're a user and you're going to do this and you send the wrong photo, it's actually illegal. So for the people living in Illinois or Texas, unless you're legally authorized to consent on someone else's behalf, say it's you and someone else, and you send a photo into Meta, if they haven't given consent for you to send it in, it's illegal. That means it's bad. In all seriousness, this is probably the most concerning one. People sending in like pictures of their children, because another question that everyone has is whether the company will scan the children's images. Like, you don't want Meta to be looking at your family. You know, that's insanely worrying. You know, that's really, really creepy. Getting AI to train on children, or, you know, even just other people, it's weird. You know, it's insanely weird. I don't know why they've come out with this. They're a multi-billion-pound company. I think they can find their own and fabricate their own like images to train it on. And that's it for this week, people. From literally aeroplanes getting possibly hacked, or the company, to Meta wanting pictures, to the, what was the first story? And also Android spiking up impossible malware. Yeah, there's a lot that happened in this week. So if you did enjoy, you know what to do. I make these videos weekly for your entertainment purposes. Try and make a boring industry entertaining, because no one else is doing it. You know what I'm getting at. You know what to do. I hopefully see you in the next one. Goodbye.